I always tell people first to pay attention to others. And here's what I mean. One of my aunts had a leadership role in higher education in the state of New Jersey for years. And I watched how she was treated by her leaders every day, whether I was working under her or whether she would just share something with me because I'm an unlicensed attorney. She would share like legally, she would want to know. So what does this sound like to you? And so, but I watched her do it with so much grace. I also watched her get in their behinds when she needed to. So I watched that quite a bit over the years. And I said to myself, it's not that she allowed it, because she absolutely didn't. But at times her back was against the wall. And I remember saying to myself, yeah, I'm not going to allow anyone to treat me like that from day one. And so I had put up a post when I was working under her. I put up a post about Black Lives Matter. And she called me into her office and she saw the post and she said, Shanae, you have to take this down. I said, why? And so she said, because I want you to climb the corporate ladder. And when you talk about something that's very controversial, I fear that it's going to hinder you from climbing the corporate ladder. She said, I'm already at the top. And I want you to be able to get up here too. So I feel like if you keep posting stuff like this, you may be viewed or seen as something. And I was like, okay, well, if that's the case, I'd rather stay at the bottom. And so I called in one of her colleagues who I said, well, let's get another opinion. So I called in one of her colleagues and we both told her the situation. And her colleague said, well, honestly, I agree with Shanae. And so she also then said, you have to look at the generation. The generation, her generation and on, is saying we're not putting up with that. That's not something that we're going to continue to deal with just because it's comfortable for you. So I said, with all due respect, I appreciate your opinion and I respect it. I said, but if I have to be anything other than myself to climb a ladder to be right in the eyes of a person, I was like, God already liked me. So, and I like me. So I don't need to like approve. Yeah. I don't need that. So I literally was like, I just rather stay at the bottom. I'm not playing nobody's game to go to the top. Like, why would I? Like, no. I was like, I'm not doing that. And she totally respected it. And so, and it wasn't that she felt like she had to play a game. It was more or less of how she was treated and what she started to see. And she didn't want me to have to go through the same thing. And I told her, I said, I absolutely respect that. I said, but if I had to choose between me and a job or coming out of myself, I'm gonna choose me every time. So so with that, to the question about how do I switch over to being myself after operating in this space for so long, you have to pay attention, come out of yourself for a second, take a step back and look at how other people are treated. And then ask yourself, am I being belittled by being treated this way, or am I being empowered? And once you actually get really in tune with yourself, you will then start setting boundaries with people that you didn't think you would have to set boundaries with, starting with people in your personal life, going into your professional life. So wow. I made up in my mind, everybody with me has a boundary. The only person that does not have a boundary, only two people, entity is God. Second person is my husband. Everybody else got a boundary. Everybody, no matter how close you are. Because I am about protecting my mental health and my peace first. So I deal in seasonal depression. Because I know that about myself. I protect my mental health first, regardless of who you are. It honestly doesn't matter who you are unless it's my husband. My husband does not contribute anything bad to my mental health. So he doesn't have a boundary. Everybody else, though, if I disagree with something, you got a boundary. And it's not that you can't disagree with me. It's I need time. And my boundary is, let me take a step back and think about what you said, so I'm not offended. So let me think about it first, and then I'll get back with you. So my boundary is, regardless of who you are in my life, there is a certain space or a line that you cannot cross with me. And part of that is because there is, again, going back to that level of respect, there's a level of respect that I demand. So another example, in my professional life, I had a hiring manager one day who who actually asked me for more candidates to be sent over to their requisition. And so I said, well, I sent you candidates. I literally was like, well, you have candidates. And so he was like, well, I want to see more candidates. And I said, well, what's wrong with the ones you have? Because in my mind, I'm thinking people who can see the profile on their end can see that they've been sent over to you. If it's been sitting in that status for so long, they're going to wonder what are the next steps. And so I said, well, you have people. So why do you need more? And so I'm a firm believer in I've sent you these people. Before you want anybody else, you need to go through these people. And I'm not sending you no more until you go through these people. So he asked me for more people. I told him no. He said, well, so you mean you're not going to send me more people even though I asked? I said, you're absolutely correct. I've done my job. My job is to send you the qualified candidates that meet your qualifications that you laid out in this job description. Your job is to then go through those people that I sent you and mark them however you want to mark them to determine if you want to move forward or if you don't want to move forward. Until you do that, you will not get any more candidates. And for me, I followed up to tell my supervisor exactly what I said to him. Just so you feel like you need to go and tell on me, I'll tell on myself.
That's right.
So I told my supervisor, and she was like, no, you're right. Same example. Had another example where I had a hiring manager who there were two different interviews, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. The interview panel consisted of one white man, 3 white women, and the candidate was a white woman. Next in the afternoon was 1 white man, 3 white women. Candidate was a person of color of Indian descent. So of course I'm sitting in on both of these interviews. In the morning, everybody chopping it up, excited. Oh my gosh, right? Everybody relating to it. In the afternoon, all of a sudden, ain't nobody paying attention but the hiring manager. And now I got a problem, right? So not only are y'all not paying attention, but I'm the HR person sitting on the call and you doing this in front of me. Cool, no issues. After both the interviews were done, the hiring manager asked me, he said, well, Shanae, what's your feedback? I said, are you sure?
They weren't ready. They weren't ready.
Yeah, I said, are you positive? He was like, yeah. I said, listen. I was like, dog. I was like, are you sure? Because I'm going to tell you the truth. And so he was like, yeah. I was like, all right, cool. Check this out. I said, and I literally, all right, cool. Check this out. I said, listen, the reason why my camera is off is for a couple reasons. I said, one of those reasons is I am currently still recruiting. So if my camera is on, I'm distracting the candidate who's actually interviewing. So my camera's off. I said, I also need to listen to the candidate's phone voice because I need to understand if the candidate can do business over the phone because we are in this virtual space. What we're doing here is a phone call. This is not in person. Just because we can see each other don't mean it's in person. So I need to understand that for this leadership role, can this candidate actually do the job that they're being called on to do? I'm also paying attention to all y'all. I said person A, person B, and person C. Persons A and B, y'all two are on y'all phones because y'all looking down. So y'all look like y'all talking to each other. Person C, you are shifted this way. So you looking at another screen. So you don't even look like you paying attention. The only person that's paying attention in here is the hiring manager. So everybody stopped. Hiring manager says, is everybody paying attention? So one of the interviewers says she's right. I actually was checking the weather on my phone and went like this. And I said, so because she was not given a fair interview, she needs to be interviewed again. I sent a follow-up email. I copied my supervisor because, again, I will tell on me.
On myself, yeah.
Before you have the opportunity, I will tell on me. So I copied my supervisor to tell her, here is what I said. Here's what I told them to do. And granted, none of those women got hired, but it was the principle of it all. There is a certain boundary with me that when you are working with me, there's a certain level of respect I demand in all aspects. And actually you should respect that versus being able to walk all over me and it's okay.
Because lies are in the balance. Yep. Sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
that's how you go from learning how to be one way versus then now you have to take a step back, step outside yourself and pay attention. Like really pay attention to how people are talking to each other, your surroundings and every aspect of how people talk to you. So you can understand how you're being treated and then you can change it that way.